Hello friends, now let us take up the concept number 2, 11.2, more about methods. Actually, about methods we studied in detail in previous chapters. Even though once again let us recall all the points relating to methods. Methods are the corest components in a class definition, because using methods or through methods only we can perform our programming tasks. That is why you must have perfect command, 100% command over the methods conceptually as well as in implementations. That is why finally I am listing out all the points about methods, and I give a briefing about them. You must understand the real spirit of each and every point and master them. There is no compromise in that. If you are not good at methods or if you are not good at functions in C, you never become a good C programmer. In the same manner, if you are not good at methods in Java, you never become a good Java programmer. Actually, in C, whatever we call as functions in Java, those are called as methods. But Java methods are much smarter. Many times I explained, but through C only you have to first C functions you have to learn. Thereafter you must learn methods. Then you can find out what is the smartness in Java methods. That point always you understand. And now I list out around 20 points and explain each and everything in detail, and you understand them thoroughly. And wherever you get a doubt and all that, you write a simple test program and work out. Okay. Every either C function or Java method should perform a predefined subtask, a single predefined subtask. Actually, in function orientation, what we do, we take up a task and dissect into identifiable subtask. Each such subtask should be entrusted to a function in C or method in Java. That point you must understand. Thereafter, a method technically can perform multiple tasks also, but every function or method should be entrusted only single identifiable subtask. That point you must remember. What is the use of that? What is the underlying reason behind it? That you have to understand. Suppose every subtask, if you entrust to a method, in debugging it is very easy. Suppose some A subtask is there, then you entrust to A method, B subtask B, C, C. Then some bug is created, then immediately identify, by testing you can identify where it goes wrong. Suppose the ABC subtask you entrust to a method ABC, then what happens? Error may occur either in B, A, B or C. It is very difficult. That is why one real time example I give you. Suppose for 5 people there is a function is going on, you entrusted a certain set of jobs to 5 people team. Somewhere you find default. Then if you make them responsible, everybody tries to evade, because the reason is they tell a pretext on others. Suppose instead of that, suppose there are 5 jobs, 5 people, you entrust every job to individually, A job to A, B job to B, C job to C, like that you entrust. Any default is there, you can catch hold of him. You can make them responsible. Who is responsible for the default? Understand? The same analogy is applicable in programming also. That is why that is the basic underlying reason to entrust single identifiable subtask to a method. By that the code length may be increased, but you must remember one thing, in the industry, software industry, especially development industry, 20% time is spending on actual production, 80% time is spent on debugging and maintenance. So, this type of techniques if you follow and all that, the debugging time is reduced, the efficiency is debugging is unproductive time. So, if we are able to reduce, the productivity is obviously increased. At the same time, maintenance time also, maintenance means after delivering a project, client may ask, find some bugs, some problems and all that, he may call you. Then if you are if you develop a foolproof system, the maintenance cost will be reduced. Why client unnecessarily disturbs you? That point always you remember. Whenever you develop functions or methods, you entrust only single subtask. It may consist of only 2 lines, do not worry, but if it is a single identifiable subtask and entrust to a separate function or method. Okay. And one more thing, there is another principle. Actually, a method definition should not be more than 40 lines, according to me, or a screen length means 40 lines. According to me, it is much less than, it is better, because at one shot you must be in a position to see the code. Why the screen length approach, if you see the screen like this, entire code in the method, body of the method, you must be in a position to see. Understand, that is the underlying reason. As far as possible, method should be simple. Suppose if by its nature, if it is bigger, you try to think of how to dissect it as smaller. That point you remember, and in designing methods you must keep these 2 points in mind. Thereafter, you know that every Java class is a composition of one or more classes, and every Java class consists of 0 or more methods. One thing I am telling you, a Java class need not necessarily have a method. That means only with variables, only with the fields, you can define a Java class. It is like a C structure, nothing wrong. It is a legal class, but normally for performing operations we create methods. So, not having any method in Java class is not illegal. So, Java class may have 0 or more number of methods, and every Java method consists of Java method means the body consists of 1 or more statements. Those are executable statements. Whenever that method is called, those executable statements in the body of the method are executed, and it calculates a value. If it is required, it returns the value. And that point you have to understand. And thereafter, types of methods. Mainly, you can categorize by their nature all the methods into 3 categories. Actually, these are borrowed from real life only. First type of methods, they do not take any arguments, and they will not return any argument, any value. They do not take any arguments, they do not return any value. This is like a real time example. If you call a cleaner to clean your office or house, you do not give anything to him, or he does not return anything, cleaner, or otherwise some clear screen function you see. You do not give any arguments to that, it returns nothing. Okay. So, that is first type, methods with no arguments, no return value. Second one, method takes arguments, but does not return anything. Method, some cases method take arguments, but does not return anything. The best example is a painter. if you engage a painter, you give paint to him, he applies and goes, he applies and goes. So, such type of method is second type. They take arguments, but they do not return anything. Third one, they take argument and they make process or make value addition and they return it. So, methods with arguments with a return value. The best example is tailor. You give cloth, in turn the tailor returns dress. In this classification of methods, first two categories, methods with no arguments, no return value, methods with arguments, no return value, they are not returning anything. In case of method, they do not return anything also, it should be specified by a data type, the data type name is void. So, the method should be declared with the void type, but it is not optional. It is not optional. If they do not return anything, they must be explicitly declared as void. Void represents that method does not return anything. In case of method returns any value, you must clearly specify which type of value it returns, that is called return type. That point you must remember. And naming conventions. In Java you must strictly adhere to naming conventions. So, for methods also naming conventions are there. Actually, if method is having single word, it should be a verb. Why verb? It is performing something. So, verb, or otherwise otherwise if it is having multiple words, the first word should be verb. Suppose you be having a single word, then adding is a verb, and thereafter if it is multiple words, calculate sum and calculate average marks. In this case, one thing I have to tell you, in Java normally we have to use complete names. As far as this is concerned, you can use short forms. As far as this verb calculate, compute, like that and all that, you can use short form. As far as possible, you have to use complete names. You should not be lazy in writing names. In C++, we use shorter names, but as far as Java is concerned, you must write complete names. Complete names, only small concession is, in case of calculate, compute and all that, shorter names you can use. But one thing I am telling you, whatever name you give and all that, the reader simply by reading it, he should understand what it is doing clearly. Readability is the very important feature in programming.